dedicated to eastern and southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News Weekend Edition.
Good evening, I'm Madison Carmouche. With the weather for the upcoming week being dry, firefighters are still on high alert for possible fires popping up in the region. WYMT's RJ Johnson has more.
Crews have had a busy week battling thousands of acres of forest fires region-wide.
It's been really busy. We've ran as many runs this week as we normally run about a third of the year.
With rain coming through at the end of last week, it helped them to put fires out.
We got a little bit of getting a little bit of rest there. It took and put a damper on the fires there. Got everything that we were working pretty well under control, or was holding it within its containment lines and away from the structures that we were having to protect.
However, Sunshine Volunteer Fire Chief Stephen Hatfield says this week is also looking dry.
We got much needed rain. It won't take and stop the problem. This next week it will be dry. It's already dried back out to the point it could burn. The dry weather this week, we're really going to be watching to make sure we don't have another breakout.
So they're on high alert.
We're prepared in case the worst does happen. We do have people out kind of actively patrolling, looking for people that are actively burning, so we can get those extinguished before maybe they start a fire.
He says it's important not to burn anything outside, even if your county is not under an active burn ban.
No burning, even grilling. A lot of people wouldn't consider that to be an outside burning source there, but no grilling, because you can even have something come out of a grill ember or something and get a fire started.
In Harlan County, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain News.
Hatfield says they still have crews at the Yoakum Creek area battling the fire as it continues.
Well, we are tracking that fire danger to continue into the upcoming work week as more dry, also mild weather is on the way, and we stay dry into this evening as well, but cooler. Here's a live look from Buffalo Mountain. You can see we are clear, that temperature down to 54 degrees, and we will continue to fall as that sun sets as well. Most of us right now in the middle to lower 50s and a few lower 60s, up to 62 for Harlan, 56 in London, 52 for Jackson, also Pikeville, and down to 46 over in Grundy at this hour. Up on the radar, we are dry, and more dry weather is on the way. As we zoom out, you can see that high pressure that is parked over the region, and that will continue as we go into tonight, but also for much of the week ahead. If you have those plans to fire up the grill this evening, we're a little bit chilly. Those temperatures back in the middle to lower 50s and upper 40s, and we fall into the 30s as you wake up on Monday. But some above average weather on the way for much of this week. We should be in the upper 50s. We top out in the middle to even upper 60s as that dry weather does continue. All those details coming up in just a few minutes. Madison?
Cameron, thank you. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet announced road work in Morgan County. The work will be overnight for 3 nights beginning on Monday evening and continuing through Wednesday evening. This is just west of the intersection of US 460 Main Street and Kentucky 2495 Court Street. Traffic will be moved into one lane near mile marker 17.13 in West Liberty. The Kentucky Transportation Cabinet also announced road work in Perry County. The work will be during the day beginning on Tuesday, November 14th from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. This is 3 miles south of Kentucky 2446 intersection at Dice. The road will be closed starting at mile marker 6.11. KYTC recommends drivers take KY 15, KY 1067, and KY 2446, or KY 80 and KY 1146. The Laurel County Sheriff's Office has arrested a Manchester man for driving under the influence. Lonnie Belt, 46 of Manchester, was arrested on North Laurel Road, 2 miles north of London. Officers were originally called to a business where Belt and another man were reportedly having an altercation. When officers arrived, they were told Belt left the scene. They found him nearby and determined that Belt had driven a car and was under the influence. He was taken to the Laurel County Detention Center. Housing projects continue to be in the works in Breathitt County, which was devastated by the July 2022 flood. Several organizations are pitching in to help rebuild after the flood with hopes of finding higher ground. Breathitt County Judge Executive Jeff Noble says they continue to make progress every day.
Part of the Samaritan Purse project, which is 14 homes, Peachtree Lane, it has got 5 homes. I think 3 of them people's already moved in them. Our biggest problem is just finding places to put them without a floodplain.
Noble says they are still working with staff and federal officials on funding for housing. He says they are looking for small and bigger spaces. The flu isn't the only thing you have to worry about this season. Kentucky doctors are already starting to see more cases of RSV, a lung disease that affects mostly younger children and older adults. Historically, it has tended to start going up in winter, but for the second year in a row, cases are increasing in early fall. Plus, the virus doesn't just transmit from person to person. It can live on surfaces for up to 10 days. But a doctor with UK Healthcare says it is not the end of the world if you catch it.
In general, most people do well with it. It can make you cough for a long time and kind of make you miserable. And just because you're over 60 doesn't mean you're going to have a bad outcome. What we want to do is really protect those who are most vulnerable. If you get it, I would watch for signs that it is getting worse, like I would recommend watching for signs of any infection.
Like most other infectious diseases, the best way to avoid it are to avoid touching your mouth, nose, and face. Wash your hands often and cover your coughs and sneezes. A Perry County Central student is collecting donations for people in need. High school student Trayton Woods is collecting non-perishable items to donate to the Greg and Noreen Wells Hospice Care Center in Hazard. Woods says his family has been a big part in motivating him to complete his mission.
My mom inspired me to do it the most, you know, because her side of the family is where I come here, is why I came here, you know, about a couple of years ago. And so it's really, this place is really close to me.
Woods will be delivering the donations on November 15th. You can donate by dropping items off at State Farm in Hazard or in M&N Furniture Store. November is Alzheimer's Awareness Month, a time to bring attention to the signs and symptoms of this crippling disease. WAVE News reporter Olivia Russell tells us how to prepare for spending time with loved ones who might have the disease.
According to the Centers for Disease Control, almost 6 million people in the U.S. have Alzheimer's disease, and that number is expected to triple by 2060. Doctors say having loved ones with Alzheimer's can make the holidays difficult. Dr. Greg Cooper, the director of Norton Neuroscience Institute's memory. It's important for families to be patient with their relatives who have Alzheimer's. He also says it's important to keep a schedule and try not to overdo any of those Thanksgiving plans because those can be tiring or make their symptoms even worse. He also says if you have older family members and haven't seen them in a while, it may be a good idea to pay a little closer attention.
There may be more changes in memory, that our loved ones are more forgetful, they're repeating themselves, they're having more trouble expressing their thoughts, coming up with the words to say. And those may or may not be warning signs of a more serious underlying condition.
But there is some good news in Alzheimer's treatment. The first drug to treat Alzheimer's was approved by the FDA in July, and Norton Healthcare was the first in the region to start that treatment for patients.
Still to come at 6, CBS's Bradley Blackburn gives us the latest on conditions for those living through the Israel-Hamas conflict.
Plus, high pressure is the name of the game for the upcoming work week. Your forecast coming up after this break.